If the process of slowly becoming an adult has taught me anything at all, is that I know little to nothing about what my parents were like before they had me. I don't know the small things like their favorite holiday tradition, or the foods they liked, or the big things like the stories that change their lives forever. So that's exactly what I wanted to do with this project. I wanted to learn what made my mom the person she is today. So without further ado, I introduced Carmen Feliciano, but of course, I call her mom.
So I lived in Puerto Rico up to the age 11. I remember a lot of poverty. I was not even aware that the poverty that we were living in for the time period, it was something that was unheard of, like preposterous almost. I always questioned whether that happened or not, whether we were really in the river, like cleaning our clothes the old-fashioned way. But that's a sure sign of abject poverty, that we couldn't even afford, to have a washing machine or things those were luxuries. I remember going hungry a lot. I remember me and my brothers doing the best that we could to try to get some type of food to feed our little siblings, because not only were we were poor. There was a lot of us. We were poor. Our father was an alcoholic and our mother was critically sick. My mom was a really bad asthmatic, and in the area that we lived in, which was a barrio, it wasn't even a city, she became sick a lot because there was really bad air pollution. So for the most part, we were being left to fend for ourselves. So I remember me and my brothers diving into dumpsters, sometimes with the help of my mother when she was not sick. I remember begging in front of the bakery for spare change so that we could buy milk to give to the little babies, because they wouldn't stop crying. Like, we could stop talking about how hungry we were, but our little brothers and sisters, they would not stop crying when they were hungry. So we would try to do everything possible to try to feed them. So that's how it was living in Puerto Rico. I think it's made me a fighter more than anything. One of the things that I don't like about my personal experience, about having been the child that my parents relied on, and having been so aware when I was younger of the poverty that we were living in and that we were starving, I think it, to a certain degree, not only robbed me of my childhood, but it robbed me of the ability to be happy. Like, I lived with worry younger than I should have. Because I used to worry about, we didn't eat today, are we gonna be able to get something to eat tomorrow? It's not gonna happen. And from knowing me all of these years, right, that I worry a lot about the things that could potentially happen. And I think that's because I feel that I was blindsided when I was a kid. I was at 8 years old is when I started to realize that we were poor and there was no help for us and there was no hope for us. So I feel that the way that I had to become aware of our poverty, our misery, and trying to do better by coming to the United States, right? That it robbed me of being a child. I always felt like I wasn't really a child. I was a miniature adult dealing with all of these problems. Even interpreting for my parents and reading the letters that were coming in the mail, there were threats, there were bills that they were trying to collect on, there were collection letters. And I had to read them and I had to be involved. So I started to worry about adult problems way before it was my time. So I think that's the worst, most disastrous thing about poverty with children, It robs you of your childhood and makes you into an adult before it's time. And then the rest of your life, as you're an adult, you worry constantly, constantly, Manny.